Welcome. Oh, I am so being prepared. Prepared, so being trained on this path of it almost sounds like this path of righteousness, biblically speaking. Okay, but I just feel something is happening, and trying to make sense of it, because I have recorded few videos, and I just thought, yes, I said everything I wanted to say in there, and it just hasn't turned out as I intended, in that I think I deleted them accidentally. Okay, but nothing is by chance, put it this way. So let me just add a little bit more light in this place and see. Yes, okay. So okay, there I am, because I'm the patient bull. I do have a lot of patience and resilience, so I'm going along with it. I'm doing another attempt in this very sensitive subject of black-white entrapment. So I have recorded two presentations, or perhaps three, that touches upon it, but it's such a deep it's quite deep, and so I am really hoping that I can relate the essence of this this realization of entrapment, and how we can untrap ourselves or free ourselves. And so I'm hoping that the presentations that I have done as well have sort of stayed with me, in that I am able to perhaps give a most effective deliverance, like a baby, because this is really a baby, of course. So if you're new to this channel, this is Mother Eve, of course, and this is the sacrifice template. So this sacrifice template is what we work with. And when we say work, okay, I perhaps should do a numerical value for work and see exactly, because I've been thinking about doing something, finding another word. Like this is a wok. We understand the wok, the Chinese pot, and it has R in it. So in the middle is O, O-R. So that's 15. And 15 and 5 is 20, and it's 22. So it's a master number. Let's stick to, not only that it's a master number, work, it also equals smile. Now I'm feeling good about that. Smile, and it equals of course, smile is miles. Miles, yes, that's where Mother Eve does her thing, she goes a mile and she smiles. I can see Mother Eve, oh God, yeah. And so it's laugh and it's smile. So that is, so when I say work, I'm feeling better about that now. These are things that have given us some sort of psychological weight, and that had made me not be too receptive of it. So now if I do say, okay, I probably might just say smile. And with that S, I know that I am really connecting with Mother Earth directly, but the W does the same too. W does the same. So, okay, because W comes into that central point right here. Now, the subject that I really want to talk about, black and white entrapment. Yes, and I'm just feeling that I'm saying this so freely. So I'm hoping everything else flows freely, and that you receive this thing freely, and it just resonates freely. So we are talking about freely. It's a children's story. Okay. Yes. So black-white entrapment is derived from my observation of doing numerical values for colors. Now, of course, the two most contrasting colors, it would seem like, is black and white. And we know that that contrast, for some reason, however it has been embedded in our psyche as well, that it has caused, it has been the instruments or functions that have caused people to be a rift with each other. Now, rift is really in the middle. Well, there's the T is missing in the word here, but we're talking about rift. This rift is really the middle here. So now I am focusing on what I am saying. I'm doing this intuitively with the guidance of Mother Eve as spirit. And of course, we could say as the serpent. Now I am, or the serpent, which equals 7, or we could say the snake, which equals 5. Now, should we say that we don't want anything to do with the serpent when we were told it was the wisest creature of anything that God had created? God had created, meaning the God of creation, as I say, would have created after his kind, after their kind. It's also said after their kind. So would that be creating after Mother Eve as well? Because Mother Eve is the said God with the snake, the S. When the vocal God, she's the vocal God. She's the one of the throat chakra as much as everything else. But can you imagine wanting to say something and you can't? Of course, we all know people who are not able to do so. But of course, we know the power of being able to speak and your voice really resonates and vibrates. And I watched something not too long ago that it is said even our thoughts travel thousands of miles faster than light, the speed of light. So that is really saying something. So it's not only the thought in this sense with Mother Eve, it's the vibration of the sound. Hence she said, I have not only given you the spirit of fear, not only, no, she says, I have not given you the spirit of fear, but the spirit of sound mind. So basically, we are able to, even if we do not open our mouths to utter something, we can still hear it. We can hear what's in our hearts. This is why when we get downloads, we know what we are hearing. We know what we are meant to convey. It's not audible like we would hear ping pong, but we are hearing nevertheless. Okay. Now, so if you're new to this channel, so this is Mother Eve. This is a depiction of Mother Eve. And this is where we are talking about the first stages here is the sack. Now, I'm perhaps going to take this and go back. It reminds me of going back to my early videos on the template. So this first part here, which is 369, and it's 1, 2, 3, denotes the sack. It is where we first get nurtured. This is the mother who is breastfeeding. This is the mother who cooks and lays the plates on the tables and nurtures everyone. She creates the parties, she invites the guests, and she remembers the birthdays. And she is that mother. In that first section here, we could say the S is there in the sack. The sack is really the breast that provides everything. Hence, of course, Santa Claus would have his sack of stockings, whatever it is, denoting that nourishment to remind us or to replace in that moment the sack that had nurtured us. So this is where we had been slowly been nurtured into that way of thinking and being, I was going to say, the seed had been planted. Yes. So that's where we do our jazz. And of course, with everything else, as I said, the sack is always food in the sack. This here is number 13. Let's show a 13 in the sense. A 13, it is really 2. It is also 4. And it also is what I call, when we close this here, it's the equal sign. The equal sign is what bonds. So whenever you are with someone and you are communicating with someone on any level, or agreeing with them on any level, or even arguing with them on any level, you are being equal. Any form of interaction that is going on in that moment, you are being equal at some point in that interaction. Even though you may come out and say, oh, this person's too low for me, or whatever it is, at that time of interaction, you have met with them on that par. You have equaled with them on that par. So otherwise there could not be a communication. Whether it was disagreement, you have expressed that same characteristic in that moment. So you have met on that premise. So that's what happened with Christ and his 12 disciples when they were eating at the table, and he gave of the bread and he gave of the wine, and he says, as long as you do this, which is of my blood, which is of my representing my blood, didn't use the word representing, but still on the bread, he broke of the bread. Now that was very important, because to break of something, it's like, wow. It's to break of the bread. It's like saying that bread is being cut in pieces, and unless all the pieces are put together, it cannot be whole. I have done so many presentations on that, but this is so beautiful, and had not seen it that way before, simply because this coincides with the story of Osiris. Osiris, who is said to have been cut in 14 pieces, and of course there was a piece that was his penis was nowhere to be found. Of course Seth or whoever else had found it, but the pieces of or his sister, someone else had found it and did something else with it. But we're talking about 14 in that mythical story. It's the Greek story. And then we see that the connection here, although Christ was with 13, or he became 13 with his disciples, and we were talking about the bread. Now, there's another thing, because I'm talking about 13. We don't know, we are imagining it was the whole bread. We are imagining that. But also, why I am saying that this coincides perfectly as well, is that we don't know about Judas having, we have said maybe he ate of the bread, and that did not sit well with him because of the role he had to play in that story. So the food, which was blood, put it this way, it wasn't his blood type. The blood type did not match. And so he himself would have had to die, because he would not have been sustained in that agreement. Wow. That's another way of putting it. So, of course, the bread was also to bring about wholeness and health, whatever else that, because Christ is representing wholeness at that time, or he's meant to represent that. But it's in the death, in the dying of the crucifixion. So what it is that he's introduced to his disciples what ritual that they are meant to practice. They are meant to do this, and he says, as often, particularly I think with the wine, as often as you do this, because wine is intoxicating, of course, do this in remembrance of me. This is where we see the word remembrance, or remember, or memory. The M's are so crucial. Now that in itself is really, and he says of me, the word me equals 9. So me, which equals 9, is where there's a birthing. 9 is delivery. He is about to go and be delivered into another realm. So each time you do this, you remember the blood that has been shed, because there is a blood that has been shed on the cross, which brings in itself that emotion. And this is what we have with the law of attraction. So the emotions now cements that that ritual into concretizing it, basically. Now we can see where I am going with this black and white entrapment is that this is the ritual that has been used all over. It is the anchor that people have hanged on to, people of all different walks of life, but we could see particularly if, for instance, people are able to be entrapped in societies, in religions, in different practices, through rituals. Through these rituals, we can imagine the energy that has been invested in those rituals to still captivate minds of people, no matter what is happening. Even if truth is in their faces, they still need to go and get that fix, because people have become addicted. So it is really strange that we have been talking about addiction of alcohol and addiction of cigarette smoking and all of those things, and the biggest addictions of all is going all around us, and we are not paying attention to it. The addiction of slavery, for instance, as well. The addiction of food. The addiction of hitting. When we say hit, because that's one of the things that I had just come across. And we are now addicted to hitting on our iPads, because people are not physically hitting in the way that bruises another one's face, as we had known, yet still that sort of hit still has the very same impact. So you hit on a pad and you say something very nasty about someone, you have slapped them in the face without really pulling your punch out. By hitting that way, you hitting on a pad. And it's high time that we understand the impact of even how we use modern technology, which is something that's another presentation, which I have been touching on Sophia with that. But why I have brought it up in the black and white, I saw that was so relevant, because, oh my, I forgot to have turned this off, because I'm also loading up while I'm doing this. So I'm just hoping we don't have too many of these interruptions. Okay, so basically I have done this, and I have different presentation I have done on this. So black equals 11 and white also equals 11. Now we have Sophia down here, but we will deal with Sophia later on. We see how she ends up with 5, which is in correspondence with white right here, and the 32, which is also in correspondence with C and K. Now this is very crucial to me, although I didn't really want to touch on that yet. But as I say, in psychology, and I think that was going quite some time back when I came across this, like for instance, if you were doing speed reading, this is the example. For speed reading, you are told just look at the first end and the last end of the sentences, and the brain will work out what is formed in the middle, because basically we are wired that way to make sense of ends, to make sense of our world that way. So the brain automatically says, for instance, if if by like the number up there, the 2, you can't see all of it, but you would know it's a 2 because your memory bank has the rest of it has the feeler, it has that. And that is what we are talking about here, that in this case here, or in both cases, we can see that when you look at black, like if I have to fill in a form for my black, for my ethnicity background, my ethnic background, I would put Black British. Now, when I write or look at it, because this is the thing, the subliminal messages that we get, and we don't take time to really look at things consciously, we lose the essence of what we really want to achieve. So everything has opposites. So in black, we have lack, L-A-C-K. Of course, this, when we do the numerical value, it is complete in the sense that it equals 7. When we do the numerical value for the word 7, it equals 20. That means 20 is rock. Rock is of course solid. This is where Christ said to Peter, upon you I will build my rock. Rock is also, 20 is also south. And 20 is also the numerical value that was given to Sarah in the name of S-A-R-A-H instead of S-A-R-A-I. That is when she was only able to conceive when the name was changed to S-A-R-A-H. Of course, when we do the numerical value for the word 20, it becomes 26. 2 plus 6 is 8. So this is really saying, in actual fact, when we go around with this, which becomes 7, it's just that I would need to. So 7, S-E-V-E-N. Of course, Eve is in the middle of 7. This is where we know we are on the right track, put it this way. So this is Eve right there. Now, Eve is already 14, and we could say 15, and 5 is 20. So we get that. Now, 20, as I say, 20 is south. This is where we plant new seeds. This is what we are doing here on Crimey Queen. Now, T-W-E-N-T-Y. Let's get a pen that writes. And so this is 7, 2, 5, 5, 5, 2. Now again, I always say where you see all these 5s together, Mother Eve is alive. Okay, 3 5s 15 and 2 is 17. 17 and 27 would be 45. Is that the case? No, something is not. T-W-E-N-T-Y, 3 5s 15, 16, 17. 17, 7 and 7 is 14, and 44. So 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4. So 44, and that's a master number. 44 is a master number, and that is 8. Now, 8 is the number of God. Basically, we found God right there in the middle of black, which is confirmation about the source of everything comes from the darkness, we have been saying God created, or God made, or God formed, and everything came from that 20 that we are seeing right here, which is 44. Now, 4 plus 4 in this sense is also reflective of blue, B-L-U-E, and blue and green, because I see blue and green as the boundaries of our sphere, in the sense that green for earth and blue for sky. So 1 is 31, this is 2, 3, 3, 4, and this is 7, 9, 5, 5, 5. Again, Mother Eve is there, very present in this, all these fives here. 15 and 9 would be, so that would be 26. No, 15 and 9 would be 24. 24 plus 7 would be 31. 31. And blue is 13. So one is 13 and one is 31. So we can see how everything is, we can see the beauty of numerology here. We can see that. So this is what we're talking about. The perfection is being unraveled here. But in that perfection, Mother Eve has said, she has said that we are on this 7th lap, if you like. This is the 7th week, towards the end of the 7th lap, and we need to be preparing for the 8th round that we are moving into. So whatever it is that we are moving to is an 8th. It's number 8. This is where we are talking about bringing blue and green together in harmony, bringing those opposites together in harmony. Okay, black entrapment is that. But we see what has happened here. We have seen the God right here. But when I would write something, because I had been so conditioned in my mind that I am worthless, I am ignorant, or I do not know better, I do not deserve better, I do not count, and I do not have rights to vote, which is in this, it's right here as well. We can see how black were not able to vote in this presentation, or in the other. If we get round to doing it in this one, we'll do it in another one. Now, it could be, when we say black, we are talking about the function, because it's not only black people, as we know, who didn't have rights to vote. There are other people in other countries of other colors or lighter complexion who did not have a right to vote, or in the Indians, or, for example, or Aborigines, or whoever else. But we are seeing that black is really that condition of that God. Now, perhaps a God in that sense should not need to vote, because the God should be in a position that they are running things, so to speak. And that's what Uranus is going to go into the house of, the second house, in which is Taurus, and run things. And Uranus is 22. This is the thing. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Uranus, this is where, so this is just, things are happening, because I thought I would have a hard time to see how we can get out of this, the dark hole, and really and be seen, be heard, to know, like Mother Eve, and be counted for, because that's what Mother Eve is coming back for. She wants to know that your checkbooks are tallied. She wants to know that your paperwork is in order, which reminds me, she wants to know that your balance sheet is in order. That's what because she is the teller, and she is the letter. The letter, she's the one who lets, and she says, let there be light, let there be the moon, the lights, or the waters, let the creatures come out of the waters. She's the one who lets. Let them bring forth fruits after their kind. So she really lets. She is the businesswoman. She wants to know that whatever contract she has with you, that you are attending to your side of the bargain. if it was a bargain at all, because I'm not so sure it was, because really she's like saying, okay, you might have gone through the sack and get your fix, you know, I gave you. And this is what Mother Eve said. This is also in the scriptures in Genesis of chapter 1. Behold, I have given you all things, or all fruits, or all trees that bear seeds after its kind. And I think there's about 3 or 4 entries where it is said that one God, in fact, and it's all in one verse, but it's 2 different gods operating there. It's like they really come close to signing the document, and the God of blessings really blessed Adam and Eve, and he blessed the creatures. Meaning he took something away, that is, be blessed. So whatever was created, it's like it was created, and he must have said, okay, this is my portion and this is your portion. And then Mother Eve says, okay, behold, I have given you all things, all fruit bearing trees after its kind, that which have seed in it. So basically, and then it is, I think it is Mother Eve who says, okay, for you to replenish, which I've given you this. So behold, I have given you that, to replenish, subdue, multiply, and have dominion. She's the one who says to have dominion over every creeping thing that walketh upon the face of the deep or on the earth. Mother Eve is the one who says that. So basically we see here, this is the God in the middle of the dark. Now what I say as well is that we need to remember that Mother Eve, this was like an episode of or the end of a genocide, or something major had happened. Something major had happened. And there was the waters, because Mother Eve is the waters. Now we learn from scientists, and it's very well known now, that waters hold the memory. Water is the memory. We know now that it is said the water we think, because they put a label on it and say it's spring water, it has no life in it. There are other waters, like I know where I can get this in St. Lucia as well, which is really which is rich in its pH. So basically, we know that the quality of water has the memory, according to scientists, which makes sense. It has the memory of how it has been treated. It has been processed. It has been strained. It has gone through a hard time, which is very much what a lot of Black people have gone through as well. So it's like really saying, okay, and I make that reference here, but I'm not what's the word, disassociating other people who go through these hard times as well, but I'm making an example that is close to home, so to speak. Now we have here lack. As I say, I would be seeing lack, and I would be wondering, well, oh, of course I see lack, and I see in my environment, for instance, the reflection of lack. What does that do to the human mind, who perhaps don't even take time to understand the subliminal messages that reinforces a limiting self-belief or reality, whatever it is. Now we have on the opposite, in the middle of white, we have the word heat. And of course, in the middle of heat, we have I, which has a value of 9. Now you can see the contrast of the formation of those numbers here, which is 2 here. As I was saying, the 2 are here. 2 is that number of partnership, marriage, humble. It is humble. It is harmonious. It wants to know, it agrees. It's along. It's that companion that walks with you through thick and thin. That's 2. And of course, we see how in the template, under the 2 column, which is the A, is also 4, because that's the beehive. The B, the number 13, 1 plus 3 is 4. And we see how the position that it has taken on the template, which is on the top, that's 2 2s are 4. We see, I am showing this to show how connected that this black function is so related in the 2nd column that coincides with where Christ had the Last Supper, and of course was going to have this renewal of his life, going into another realm. Going into that other realm, of course, is that he would be central. He was the central figure there, like we have the number 1. So that number 1, of course, is that one that is right here. He had to, so basically, the first person in with the 13, so he forms the agreement. That's another thing that I just got. He forms the agreement with them, and he says, wherever I am, there I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there you will be also. But in that agreement is a process of breaking free of the initial contact. So that 13 here, this is 13. Let's get a pen that writes. Okay, so this is better. So with the B, which is the 13, which is 13, this is 13. But when they come to an agreement, they become equal. So we see the 2 dashes here would form that equal sign. That's the bond. That's the shaking of hands together. That is it. That's the nodding of the head that happens here. But for Christ to really do what he had to break that bond. Literally break that bond. And where he pats, because he's away from them, he had to more or less knock that one out, because 3 now, which he is, like we said, he represents the Trinity, and 3, that's what 3 does. 3 wants to be active. 3 is not that number that stands still. It's that wave. It's the wave that needs to be active. And so it has to push that one away. So meaning pushing that one away was pushing Judas away. Judas now had to get out of the way. Whatever he did, hanged himself, whatever it was, because then he too is going through another cycle. The same cycle, or the opposite. It's the same sort of cycle that Christ would be going through. Of course, he was hanged, and he hanged himself on a tree, and Christ was crucified on a tree. They're both on trees. Okay, now the story and the significance of the trees is that trees bear fruits after their kind. That agreement was the seed that was planted on the table among 13 people. Now, do we say it was planted among 13 people because we don't know for sure that Judas had really taken of the bread? But matching the mythical story that it would be 13 pieces that had to be put together to make the whole. Hence we have as well the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 zodiac signs, the 12 the 12 hours of the day, the 12 months of the year. So we have all those 12s. That would mean that is denoting the absence of Christ in that state, in that way. Judas would still be counted as one of the 12 disciples. because he sat at the table. If you sit at the table, you're counted. But there are people who don't get to sit at the table. So number 3 really is wanting to have that movement. Now, this is the function and structure of black that we are talking about here. And let me just check. Oh, okay. So I'm going to have to do other parts of this presentation. So likewise, with the L and the C here, they would be wanting to really, you can see that free. It's as if it's going to want to push the 2, go on, because go on, make that agreement, because I need to get my space to move on and to show myself, because 3 is really the magic number. Because why is it the magic number? It is M, it is 3, it is W, and it is E. That is the magic number, and this is 3. And this really is the 8-petal flower. This is 3. That's what 3 wants to do here. So when I was asking Mother Eve, well, what can black do to free themselves out of oppression? Because these 2 here, for instance, is that really like 3 would be wanting to still hang on or follow 2, and when 2 now is gone in that bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, for instance, that's where the anchor is, because they are usually going into agreement in that state there, and that's where 3 now is being creative in setting the table. 3 is that which is going to sing and entertain, put on some soft music. That's what 3 is going to want to do. Because 3 is actually, as we see here, it is under the L, which is the first letter of Mother Eve's command when she says, let there be light. Let there be light. So that's what 3 is going to want to do, because 3 is the leader in everything, to say, well, how about putting the light on? How about putting candles around? How about having soft music? 3 is the one who's going to want to do this. And then we have 1 in the middle, of course. 1 is really we say rigid, but is stern. 1 is stern, and 1 is like authoritative, we could say, in its own way. And why not? Because it is whole. It is from 10. As we see, we have turned this A into an X, because A is 1 in numerology, and it's also X in Roman numbers. So we can see that either way it holds that value. So basically, we are given the opportunity to see our north, south, east, and west. We can take that X, you can turn it around. You can see it as your north, south, east, and west. You can see it as your house, which house is really Mother Eve. So Mother Eve is really central here. The other point that is really important to remember, as the letter A, let's put that here, as the letter A, it also represents that 3. It has that direct connection with 3 right here. It has connection with 3 because it has 3 strokes to it. It is the house of the heart. It is the house of the earth. Because when we have the numerical value for the word heart, we find in the middle of it A, the letter A. So when you go down to the middle of the heart, this is where you are devising ideas. You are devising, you are in your script, you are in the dark, but you are coming with ideas. This is where you dream. So we can see that when we take, it's important we become conscious of the function of this dark. This is where our primary thoughts are. This is where our first ABC is, our 1, 2, 3, our CAT, whatever it is that we had learned. It is at the core of that black. That's why Mother Eve was able to say, let there be light, because she is she is the library, encyclopedia, world encyclopedia. She knows everything and everyone. She has the full record right there. She's the one who's now, although she's in the dark, when you step in the house, she's going to say, turn on the light, love, before you trip over. She's the one who says that, and that's exactly what she was saying to Moses on Mount Sinai. Take off thy sandals, because this is holy ground. The ground, this literally had holes in it, so he wouldn't trip. Of course, the same thing happened because he had a speech impediment and he was tripping on his words. So it was another metaphor for the whole thing. Okay, because the tongue as well is in the mouth. So basically, here we see, we will go back to this point, and I just in case, I want to show that the information is balanced here, and yet I wanted to deconstruct this thoroughly. But what I'm saying here, we see 9 now is that which is birthing. When we add 1 and 9 together here, that becomes 10. So in the heart of both functions, at the heart of both functions is the resource for that which is necessary for our next